Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me already, then my name is Sarah and I am a flower farmer in East Yorkshire in the UK, and I've been flower farming for 6 years now. I'm just going into my 7th season and I'm learning lots still along the way, and I love sharing everything that I've learned and everything that I am learning with you guys here on YouTube and on my online workshops and in-person workshops. So I wanted to tell you all about my new secret project that's been going on in the last few weeks, and I've been talking about it a little bit on my channel, teasing it a little bit, but I just wanted to finally make the video to tell you what is going on behind the scenes. So I'm really excited to let you know that I am taking on a new flower field, and we are here in the flower field here, it's behind me. But before I tell you a little bit about this area, I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a back history on what is already here on the flower farm. So if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I have this field, which is my original flower field, which I also call my triangle field, and this field, which was set up 3 or 4 years ago. So this is my back flower field, as I call it, because it's placed at the back of the farm. And this field has been set up, I think, for 3 or 4 years now. It took me a while to get going with this field because there were a couple of things that kind of went wrong with this field. Regrettably, I set this field up in a way that I wouldn't do, and I kind of felt like I didn't really have another option because at the time I just didn't know what to do. So I was taking advice from Rob and his family because they're farmers. That's what they do. They use Roundup, and that was the only way that they knew how to kill off weeds. So in the end, we sprayed off this field with Roundup. I really regret that decision. I made a video about it at the time and I got loads of comments from people saying that they're unsubscribing because I use Roundup, and obviously, as I said, I regret doing that now because I know better, and I didn't really have money to invest on huge silage tarps to cover up this field. But nowadays there's lots more information, as I said, on YouTube and on podcasts about how to set up new fields, so I feel better informed this time and I'm really excited about setting up the new field. So I sprayed it off, I think it was around March time. We did it with a tractor. Oh no, we did it with a quad bike and the spray on the back of the quad bike. And then Rob came in with a power harrow and power harrowed this field. The first year I was too late in setting it up, so I ended up trying to direct sow things and it didn't really work. The second year I had lots of seedling failures, and then in the third year, not last year, the year before, I managed to have a full field of flowers, and then last year was my most successful season in this field so far. And now I just maintain this field by adding a little bit of compost, broad forking it and putting cover crops on, as you can see. And it seems quite weed free at the moment, so hopefully it's just going to keep getting better. Unfortunately, I didn't do any soil tests in this field for organic matter or anything like that, so that it would have been interesting to look back at that in hindsight. So that's why I'm going to make sure that I do that in my new flower field. This field in the last couple of years has mainly become a perennial growing field, and I have kind of filled up some of these beds with perennials like ninebark, lamb's ear, geum, artichokes, grasses, hydrangeas, achillea, oxeye daisies, lupins and things like that. But it's kind of started looking a bit scruffy in the last couple of years because perennials kind of need a bit more spacing. So when the perennials die back in winter, it kind of just looks like a sea of black plastic in here, which I don't really like. And before I decided that I was going to be setting up that field around the back, I'd already decided that I wanted to try and move away from weed membrane in this field because our house is directly in front of me and this is the view that we have. So I really want this area to look nice from the aspect of our house and also from the people who come and visit us on the farm and come to our workshops in the teepee. So over the last few years it's kind of started looking a bit scruffy. There's patches where some perennials haven't grown, and I'm just not happy with the way that it looks. So this year we wanted to start a veg patch. I'm really kind of looking forward to growing veg this year. I really want to improve the health of our family and things like that. So I wanted to set up a veg patch, and the only place that I could really think of was in this field here. So what I've decided is this square patch of beds here, there's about 18 beds overall. They're going to become the new veg patch, so that's going to be really exciting. And then because this field is kind of an awkward triangle shape, I'll just let the donkey finish. Because this field is a bit of an awkward triangle shape, we end up with this area looking a bit messy. So this area here, I'm going to pull up all of the weed membrane, and I'm hopefully going to plant some fruit trees, maybe have like a nice little round area that's going to be a nice fire pit area, so we can sit out and on a night time and have a fire and things like that. So I just want to make it a little bit more of a garden come veg growing space, and hopefully it's going to look really nice. I'm going to incorporate lots of flowers as well, so it's going to look really nice when you come into the field. Hopefully we'll have lots of things growing up on trellises and archways over the tops of the beds, so that's going to hopefully look really nice. I'm really looking forward to going on that adventure this year. So when I originally set up this field, I had a guy come in with a tractor and rotavator and had this field just rotavated. We didn't spray it off, we didn't do anything to tarp it to kill the grass off or anything, so we just rotavated it. And this was 6 years ago when I first started the farm. I absolutely had no idea what I was doing, so I ended up hauling in quite a bit of horse muck from the farm, and I dug it into the beds, and then I covered it over with weed membrane, or it was some kind of weed fabric. It wasn't the stuff that I'm using now, and it was letting the light through, so I dug it over, put that weed membrane on top, thought I was doing good, and lifted it off a few weeks later, and the weeds had been growing underneath because it was letting light in. So I was really disappointed about that. I was really upset. And then it kind of took me a couple of years to get into doing no dig and using weed membrane. So since I put weed membrane in this field, it's really helped with the weed pressure. But now I'm starting to really hate the way that it looks. And after doing no dig now for 6 years, or maybe even 5 years, maybe it took me a year to get into the no dig, I'm hoping that the seed bank in the soil has been buried and it hasn't been disturbed for a few years now. So if I continue to not disturb the soil and keep mulching, then hopefully the weed seeds won't germinate, and we're going to have less of a weed problem on our hands in this field. So I'm looking forward to investing in a good hoe and taking all the weed membrane off this and just keeping on top of the weeds with a hoe, and then just going over them every now and again and just checking for weeds that might have germinated and just pulling them out by hand. I just wanted to show you here where my new field is in respect to where my current flower field is. So that is my flower field and my polytunnel, and then through this gateway, as the alpacas are demonstrating, is the new flower field. So what we're going to be doing is making a hole in the hedge, fencing across there, just continuing that fencing across, and so when we are in that field we can just walk through there. Instead of having to come out of this gate and all the way around, we can just go through the hedge and into the flower field. So the reason why I am setting up this new field is because I've been looking a little bit into efficiency, and something that has bugged me for quite a long time is that my two fields are quite separate from each other, and the tools end up getting mixed between the two fields, and I end up having to come backwards and forwards quite a lot, which is really frustrating to me, and it kind of feels like I'm wasting time. So it will be really, really handy to have the two fields adjacent to each other, and everything's within reaching distance of harvest and all of my tools and things like that. I also really love it in this field. It's really, really scenic. We've got oak trees over there. We've got just the horizon goes on for miles in this area because we're on a flat flood plain near the Humber estuary, so it's kind of very flat around here, and I can see for miles. We get gorgeous sunsets down here. I really love the atmosphere down here on the evening and early in the morning, and my alpacas actually live in this field as well, so I'm looking forward to spending a bit more time with them because they're really, really nice to be around, as you know. Also, as part of the plan for this field, we will be putting in a little bit of extra grazing area for the pigs and the chickens. So this field here has a hedge running alongside of it, and we are going to be leaving quite a large corridor here, which is, I think it's 3 metres long or a little bit more, just so that Rob's dad can get the tractor in and flail this hedge so that we can keep it nice and trim. So this side of the hedge and the other side of the hedge is going to be a new grazing area for the pigs, and we can partition them off depending on how their grazing is going. They tend not to be too destructive, our pigs, so once they've grazed an area and it looks like they're starting to cause a bit of trouble, we can move them over to another area, and the grass can just be grazed like that without them destroying one area. And their pen is kind of small, and they haven't got any grass to graze on in there because they've just rooted it all up, so it's going to be nice for them to have some grazing throughout the summer. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the how I'm setting up this field, and I'm really excited about this because I know there's a lot of newbie flower farmers that follow this channel, and it's something that I really wish was available on YouTube when I started my flower farm, and there just wasn't really any guidance out there on how to set up a flower farm from scratch off a grass field. And there's a little bit more information out there nowadays, especially from market gardening channels, things like the No-Till podcast and YouTube channel. There's lots of stuff from Richard Perkins and things like that, so I'm kind of taking inspiration from a few of those people and previous experiences. And I've mentioned already how my other fields were set up, and this one is going to be done differently again because I like to have a range of experiences. And when I was thinking about how I was going to set up this field, I was kind of falling into the trap of trying to rush it, and I wanted to, and then I started thinking to myself, if I was giving advice out to somebody else about how to set up a flower field, what would I say? And basically I'm going to try and follow my own advice because I don't want to rush it. I want it to be done properly, because skipping the first few steps on making sure the grass is killed off and making sure the ground is prepared really does kind of cause detrimental effects later on in the growing season and years to come. So I really want to set this up properly, and hopefully it will work well. I will obviously take you on the journey through my successes and failures. That's what I like to do on this channel. And basically the steps that I'm going to be taking to set up this flower field, you might already see step 1 behind me, and we have just temporarily fenced off this field with some electric fencing netting, which isn't actually electrified. It's just set out so that I can see the size of the field. And then I've put some silage tarp down to kill off the grass, and I've just actually tried to, you can see where it started killing off the grass there. I've just tried to put it back down because it has been really windy this week and it's blown up the weed membrane or the silage tarp, and I've just tried to pull it back over myself and it was like flying a massive kite. So I'm either going to have to ask for some help or wait until it's less windy to put that back down. And the reason why this bit's flying up and the rest isn't is because I ran out of breeze blocks to weigh it down, and the breeze blocks seem to have worked quite well over in this section of the field. So I need to grab myself a few more breeze blocks. We've got some on the farm that we used for some building materials for something else, so I'm going to borrow those and put those down. So the area is actually here is about 25 by 30 metres, and the beds are actually going to take about 15 by 28 metres or 27 metres. And that is going to be 1.5 metre beds by 8 metres, and there's going to be 3 beds long ways that are 8 metres long, and then there's going to be, I think, 8 1.5 metre beds this way, and 1.5 metres includes the path as well. And there's going to be 2 central paths that go upwards, and then there's going to be a path between each bed there as well. So I'll try and draw a diagram, put it up on the screen so you can visualise it a bit better. So I just need to add a little bit more weed membrane. I was just waiting for it to be delivered, or silage tarp. That is just going to square off this section here. So then everything is going to be covered, and I'm going to leave that on for a couple of months. I'm going to keep checking underneath the weed membrane to see if things are being killed off. And then what I want to do is sow a cover crop into the area that is going to be going into production next season or towards the end of this season. So I really want to use the cover crop to increase the soil health, add organic matter, and really kind of boost the microbiology that's going on the area where I'm going to be growing flowers. And that is the step that I really didn't want to miss out, because I want to see how the cover crop can benefit the soil. So what I'm going to do before I even start doing anything is to do an organic matter test. I'm going to be having a look at the soil underneath the microscope, and I'm going to be digging holes and having a look at the soil just to see what it looks like, so that I can use those as points of reference moving forward, and I can have more soil tests done in the future. Keep looking at it under the microscope, keep looking at the soil, and hopefully we'll see improvements in the years to come. So I really want this to be a guide to other people. So that is one of the reasons why I didn't want to rush it, is because I wanted to really do it properly, so that I could demonstrate to you how it could work, or maybe how it couldn't work. Maybe it's not going to work. But yeah, the plan is cover crop for a couple of months, then put these tarps back on to kill it off. I'll probably mow it down first, put the tarps back on, kill it off again, and then we can get ready to shape the beds and put compost on and things like that. So the plan with the perennials in the front field now is going to be keep them where they are for the season. There are a few beds in that front field that I can that are empty, that I don't need necessarily this year for growing crops in. So I'm going to be planting veg just in between the perennials and seeing what we can grow this year. So the next steps are to get this field fenced. It has been really dry lately, but in the last couple of days we have had a bit of rain, so I'm hoping we might get another bit more of a dry period, so that we can get the fencing done and we can get the fence posts pushed in. We're going to be putting rabbit netting on to make it rabbit proof, because there are rabbits in this field. I also have ordered a pack of trees from the Woodland Trust that I'm going to be planting all around the edge for wildlife, so that's going to be a great addition to the new flower field. I'll just love planting trees and creating a nice environment for the wildlife, so that's going to be looking really good, hopefully by the end of the year this year, but we'll see. But next spring probably is going to be when this is going to be in full swing with production, so I'm really looking forward to that. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you can follow along on my journey and you can see how this field ends up looking by this year. I don't know how it's going to pan out, but I'm looking forward to taking you along on the journey with me. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next one.